Well, folks, you heard it before. The mother of all bubbles is in stocks and equities, and the attack on the dollar by China is going to be commencing very soon. Actually, it has been commencing piecemeal, but you haven't noticed it in the real numbers yet, but it will manifest itself. I just want to put something that was actually on a meeting of March 31st, 2015. Hans-Jorg Vetter, CEO of a very prestigious bank in Germany, he was talking about that we are actually in, he basically let it slip, we're actually in the mother of all bubbles right now in stocks and bonds. And what is there, the stocks and bonds prices is still rising in lieu of even negative interest rates. And this has all been created by Federal Reserve Bank policy, central bank policy, and it's about ready to explode. I know you've been hearing this garbage for the last 2-3 years and all this kind of stuff, but you know, sometimes things take a long time to play out, and also, you know, the empire doesn't really fall apart that quickly. You know, there's a lot of things that have to happen first. It's just been a long slide, and the mechanical underpinnings of the empire is actually coming down piecemeal. But one of the biggest things that's actually going to bring down a dollar too, besides the bubble in the equities, and you know, George Soros has bet heavily against this. Even Warren Buffett has. Warren Buffett actually has, it was as of last year, he actually had more money of his cash reserves in foreign currencies than he did the U.S. dollar. But the other thing that's coming on the horizon is the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, with China taking the lead, formed in October 24, 2014. Now, actually, there's a lot of countries jumping on board with this deal, including Germany and Israel, and Japan is a little reluctant, but they're probably going to jump aboard. But it's like the IMF, well, what they're trying to do is China's trying to get the yuan as one of the world reserve currencies. They still got a little ways to go, but this actually is a serious attack on the dollar. Now that stories are starting to appear in the major media. That's the big difference. I know you've been hearing it in the alternative media, but it's been appearing now in the major media. And, you know, I know sometimes the alternative media will hit that, you know, button first, like screaming about the sky is falling, and, you know, it might take some years before it happens. But they're warning about it now in the major media. That's where I'm really saying to myself, yeah, I think this is happening now, because, you know, if you look at what's going on, you know, asset prices have been, you know, as far as equities and bonds, have been highly inflated throughout the world. I don't even know, you know, if people got into the equities market, it pretty much doesn't even matter where. Actually, in the United States, it's not looking good for the long term. Like, in other words, if you jumped in the equities market right now, it doesn't look good for the long term. Where's it going to go to? Even the dollar itself, you say, yeah, the dollar's really strong. It's got a high index. But is it going to go higher? What about the movement where it's going to go to? And, you know, the Fed talking about interest rates going up, that's not going to happen. No. That can't happen, because it would take too much of a slice of the pie. So, the U.S. is trying to slow down what China's doing, but they're not going to be able to stop it, because even Israel jumped on the bandwagon now. And Japan's going to jump on the bandwagon. It's almost like the power is moving towards Asia. You know, Asia. That's something what Jim Rogers said. But, you know, part of the problem is why that power is moving that way is, like I've always been saying, is excess regulation. And, you know, it's amazing how many people that are employed in venues just taking care of excess regulation. And they don't produce anything in the real world. But what's going on is they're just keeping the wheels of the machinery moving for the paper that feeds the government, not actual goods and services that people need. And it's amazing that, you know, people actually take pride in those types of activities. I don't know why, but it's not something I really have any real pride in. I mean, it's like, you know, if there's a little bit of financial incentive that needs to be behind the production of goods and services like construction or machinery, I can understand it. But in the case of finance, for some finance purposes, I really can't. I don't agree with it. But the thing is that China, in pushing this Asian infrastructure investment bank to the forefront, is going to cause the dollar, and it's being recognized now in the major media and talked about now in the major media that it is a threat to the dollar. It's not like it's going to kill it right away overnight. It's not like it's going to go into oblivion, and it's not like the dollar is going to lose all its clout in the world. But it's actually that last step they talked about. Like first they talked about lowering the interest rates, increase the money supply, and all that type of stuff, stimulate the economy. The last step was actually to devalue the dollar. They haven't done that. They've been talking about that, and in the alternative media, that's going to happen any day now. But now it looks like it is actually really right around the corner. Don't expect it next week or anything like that, but I'm talking about since China has done this move, just like Jim Rogers has been talking about, you're going to see a lot more financial power moving over to the Asian side of the world. Now, like I said, a lot of it could be brought back here to the United States of America, but the problem is, like I said, always been saying, excess regulation. These office regulation dorks and females, they need to get out there in the real world and actually do some work for a change. And the problem is they don't. That's really what the deal is. It's like we have in our society, most of the jobs, even now, if they're not in the government, they are in the private sector complying with government regulations. They're not in the actual production of goods and services. So, and that's really why our economy is actually really faltering in a true sense. Because when you look at the GDP, the GDP might be doing pretty good in some ways, but it's in the financial sector or it's in the pharmaceutical sector, and actually what good is that actually doing for people? Not really that much, because it's snake oil fluff when you're talking about the financial sector. Yeah, maybe the paper buys you something, but the thing is, really, what are they producing? And in the pharmaceutical sector it's just another bunch of fancy names for drugs to screw people's health up, right? But hey, it increases the GDP. So when you look at it, in some ways, maybe the China's right. The paper tiger, I don't know, maybe they're right. But it's interesting also to know, I have to repeat that again because, it bears emphasis, that there was, he's a major CEO of a German bank. He was just stating this a few days ago on March 31st, 2015, Hans-Jorg Vetter, that we're actually in the mother of all bubbles for bonds and equities. You wonder what's going on with the central bank policy? We actually did have a commodities bubble back in 2011, right? Sure. Where is the bubble going now? Bonds and equity, globally, pretty much, but especially here in the United States. We've been looking at those charts. Actually, this is the second longest bull run we've ever had in the history of the United States. I don't know. I don't want to put doom and gloom. I'm just putting common sense. But when the bottom falls out, the people that have their money wrapped up in the equities, they're not going to want to be spending a lot here in the United States. They're going to be tightening their belt even more, and you're going to see the economy even go worse. As a matter of fact, the jobs report, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know it totally missed the mark. I think it missed the mark almost by 50%. It was the lowest growth rate they had in over a year. So, anyway, when the alternative media is always saying, the sky is falling and Chicken Little and all this kind of garbage. Actually, the sky is starting to fall in pieces. And that's exactly what's going on. And the fact that more and more nations are joining the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, headed by China, Well, that really spells a lot more nails in the coffin for the dollar. Not that it's going away completely or it's going to lose all its clout. It's going to be the money you're going to use over here in the United States. That is what's going to happen. It's going to be the money over here, but it's going to lose a lot of clout in the world. It's going to take some time, but they really can't stop this deal. It's not like it's an alternative media rumor, drama, or anything. They're actually, I look at the alternative media and I look at the major media. But when the major media starts picking up a lot on what the alternative media says, I really pay attention. So there, ergo, I just want to let you know about it. So, a lot of the people have been predicting about the skies falling. It's starting to come down in little pieces. Don't worry that it's going to freaking come down this weekend or anything. But it's just hang on to what we've been talking about all these years. Over and out.